In the spring of 1996, DC and Marvel Comics clashed in the epic DC vs. Marvel event, a joint enterprise between the two big publishers. Fans got to see their favorites from each comic book company go head to head. They even got to vote on who would win each battle. Spoiler alert, Superman beat the Hulk. But when DC vs. Marvel ended, it wasn't the end. Oh no, it was only the beginning. For out of the ashes of that war, they built a better one. Oops. That's too close to what Apocalypse said in that other thing. Well, it was two other things, I think. What I mean to say is, from the conclusion of the DC vs. Marvel event, both universes, or multiverses if you will, combined into the Amalgam universe. And DC and Marvel combined their publishing powers to create the Amalgam imprint. The Amalgam universe was literally an amalgamation of DC and Marvel characters. Fan favorites such as Superman and Captain America and Batman and Wolverine were combined, or amalgamated, into such characters as Super Soldier and Darkclaw. Or entire teams like the Justice League International and X-Men, who fused into JLX. Fusion, ha! Amalgam released 12 comic books in 1996 and would go on to birth another 12 the following year. From the beginning, fan reactions seemed to be mixed. Even then, many felt the Amalgam event was little more than a gimmick. Over time, it seems this feeling has grown, with even more fans criticizing Amalgam for lack of depth and for essentially being a cut-and-paste scrapbook of some of their favorite characters. Instead of reading about Amalgam's Amazon, for example, why not read about the characters she was amalgamated from, Storm and Wonder Woman? It can't possibly be good storytelling if they're just combinations of other characters, right? Wrong. At least, it's my opinion that this is a premature judgment of what the Amalgam universe could have become. Sure, even DC and Marvel saw those 1996 and 97 Amalgam comics as one-shots, standalones not meant to be expanded into larger series, but just because their publishing intentions then were temporary, it doesn't mean that the Amalgam universe couldn't have continued for longer. And it might even be resurrected. Technically, I think more recently, maybe as of 2002, feel free to correct me on this as I'm not quite sure, Marvel considers Amalgam part of its multiverse, or at least a parallel universe. Earth 9602. Basically, I believe it was in a Marvel book, though it may have been the original 1996-97 Amalgam books, Doctor Strange and Doctor Strange Fate, the amalgamation of Doctor Strange, Charles Xavier, and Dr. Fate, fought over, ironically enough, the fate of the Amalgam universe. It seemed that, at least initially, Amalgam couldn't exist at the same time as DC and Marvel multiverses. They had to be pulled apart. But after Doctor Strange beats his amalgamation or abomination of himself and others, Doctor Strange sets it up where a sort of version of Amalgam can exist. All of which to say, the Amalgam characters could still make a comeback, I believe, if there was a demand for it, and if DC and Marvel were willing to combine their powers once again. It's my opinion that it could be deeper and longer lasting, not merely one-shots, but full-blown series. To the critics of Amalgam who say that the characters were just shallow combinations, I say, why not think about it as Marvel seems to, which is as another universe, part of a larger multiverse or multiverses. With the popularity recently of Marvel's animated What If series and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, I believe that we're seeing that not only can variations and even combinations of characters be popular with fans, but they can also actually add richness and complexity to the bigger picture. Sure, those one-shots back in 1996 might not have been very deep or groundbreaking on their own, but I see them as an infant's first steps out into the world. Mommy and Daddy, DC and Marvel, baby needed time to grow. Baby needed time to grow. What was seen as a shallow gimmick might have actually been a child prodigy in the making. And by the way, the Amalgam universe does have a lot of lore. One of my favorite things about that event were the Fleer Skybox comic book cards that pretended like there were many issues to pull from, expanding on the little we saw in the comic books. I had a lot of fun with those cards, and I still have many in my collection. I'm looking at you, Canvas Cards.
Okay, let's just put this one back into its place here. There we go.
I know you'll be worth something someday. And speaking of collectibles, not to toot my own horn, but I own 2 of Darkclaw issue number 1. Okay, kind of a big deal if you're into the Amalgam stuff. Interestingly enough, its current value, according to Comic Book Realm, is $6. However, good luck finding this comic book for $6. I can't even find anything close to that cheap being sold on eBay or Amazon, so maybe it's actually worth more than we think. I mean, if it's selling for much more than that, what does it say about the demand? Bring Amalgam back. Bring it back.
Tell me that I can and I won't. That's what guides me the most. Your lies, I'll do what